I've worked in Las Vegas a couple of times bodyguarding. I hate Las Vegas. It's not like, people want to go to Las Vegas and I got my hand up first talking about let's go to Las Vegas. It's just Las Vegas has been more of a pitfall and bad memories for me than anything else. Michael Moore told me.
LAPD Chief Michael Moore had this to say back in 2022.
Officer Tipping was not attacked. He was not beaten up by a group of officers, and he was not involved in any investigation of any police officer within the Los Angeles Police Department.
Because he had told us that he was not going there with, his words, them sellout niggas. The last thing he said to me prior to leaving was, he's not going to be in Vegas, I don't have to worry about him showing up, and don't worry about it because he won't be.
To get out of Vegas. He says, get your stuff, Frank, get out of the hotel, don't tell no one anything. If Reggie and them call you, don't call them back, don't answer your phone, just leave. Get the hell out of Vegas. And ironically, as I was driving home, Reggie Wright called me and he goes, hey, Suge want to talk to you. So I take the phone call and it's Suge and he goes, hey, Frank. He goes, man, I know that, this has bothered you. I know that you're upset. We're all upset. Why don't you come over to the house tomorrow? We're going to take the boat and jet skis and go out to Lake Mead and, go jet skiing and stuff like that, right? I told Suge, I said, I'm halfway home. I said, I'm just about back home. And he was like, oh, okay, And then that was the end of it. Now, what was his motive for wanting to tell me to come to Lake Mead, let's go get on the jet skis and, go boating and stuff like this? Well, it could have been another headline. Frank Alexander dies in Lake Mead from a boating accident or jet ski accident. Something like that.
An LAPD detective's words are apparently coming back to haunt him. In a recording, a man said to be Frank Liga discusses how he shot and killed an off-duty officer. Liga purportedly says he could have killed more. KCAL 9's Christy Fajardo shows us how the department is responding.
For me to comment on it before I have all the facts is wrong.
A new audio recording is raising questions about what the LAPD knew and when. It reportedly features this man, Detective Frank Liga, disparaging fellow officers and public figures at a training session. The LAPD says it's been investigating the recording for months, but couldn't give us a timeline. The man who made the tape reportedly says he released it. Frustrated, Liga was never disciplined.
His teaching position has been taken away from him.
His teaching position has been taken away from him. And removed from the field, I think, is recent.
Do you regret shooting him? I says, no, I regret that he's alone in the truck at the time. I could have killed a whole truckload of them. And would have been happily doing so.
Do you regret shooting him? I says, no, I regret that he's alone in the truck at the time. I could have killed a whole truckload of them. And would have been happily doing so. Do you regret shooting him? I says, no, I regret that he's alone in the truck at the time. I could have killed a whole truckload of them. And would have been happily doing so.
That is believed to be narcotics detective Frank Liga talking about the night in 1997 when he shot and killed fellow officer Kevin Gaines. Both men were in plain clothes and the LAPD ruled it self-defense. The department settled with Gaines' family for $250,000. But the case was the beginning of the Rampart scandal. The latest recording was reportedly taken in November when Liga was teaching at the academy. On it, he also has this to say about a female captain.
Couldn't find in both my hands. You couldn't help it because there was somebody else's hands on it.
Another officer insulted in the recordings, Lieutenant Paul Vernon, told us, quote, "To this day, I have never personally met Liga. Over the years, I've heard he has animus towards me. I never lost any sleep over it and still haven't."
I don't understand how he's still employed with the Los Angeles Police Department.
Blogger Jasmine Canick says she got the audio from fired LAPD officer Brian Bentley, who obtained it and posted it on his Facebook page. She admits Bentley may have an axe to grind, but says the recording speaks for itself.
Any other job, you could not get away with making disparaging, vulgar remarks about coworkers in front of other coworkers.
Michael Douglas Carlin said that he went to a meeting with LAPD officers, and supposedly he had a heart attack right there and died. That sounds suspicious as hell to me. I mean, it's like, here you are, you're kind of ousted by the people you worked for, and you happen to die at a meeting with them. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this was kind of a double screw, actually. We got screwed twice on this one. The first thing is that Russ was actually at the LA County Sheriff's Department. He was at their headquarters when he died. And we got screwed twice because Russell and I, sometime earlier, had actually, when we got the confession letter from Chris Blatchford at Fox News, we weren't sure what we were going to do with it. The thing that we saw in the letter right away was that Reggie Wright's name was mentioned, and this letter hadn't seen the light of day since 1998. Nobody knew who Reggie Wright really was before, I think, Nick Broomfield's documentary came out, and then, of course, the assassination movies. But that was 2006. That was 8 years after this letter had been written, and nobody knew who he was. So when we got the letter, and there's some far-reaching things in that letter. There's so much depth to that letter in such a short letter. And when you look at all the details of that and the credibility that's in that letter, the only thing that we could think to do, and I called some people that I trusted very much about what to do about it. What do you do when you get this knowledge? You got one of two choices. You either go figure it out yourself and take your chances, figure it out, and be Columbo and try to figure all that out, or you give it to the people that know how to do these things, okay? So let's suppose for a minute that you have a hot lead, and maybe these people over the past 20 years have kind of let their guard down because they figured that, the heat's off, it's been a long time, everybody's still looking at Orlando Anderson, so, everybody's head's turned, and maybe they've just relaxed a little bit, Maybe they can put Tupac hunched over dead on a console on the front of their record album. Maybe they could do that. Maybe that's an inside joke, but maybe there's no heat. And maybe law enforcement might have an opportunity to kind of catch these guys off guard because you know how they roll. I mean, that's what they do. That's how they do what they do. And so we were at a crossroads of how we were going to handle this. We said, well, what do we do? Do we look at it ourselves? Do we have that kind of muscle, that kind of clout that we could go interrogate people? No. So what we decided to do was go to the Los Angeles Police Department, and we went up to the top of Parker Center, the very highest floor at the LAPD headquarters, and we met with Deputy Chief of Police there, the head of robbery homicide, another one of the robbery homicide investigators, and we left that meeting, and it wasn't even 2 weeks later that the LAPD leaked that confession letter. We got screwed. We got screwed by the LAPD big time on that one. I mean, when you go to somebody, we weren't even originally going to put any real names in the book, in Tupac 187, the book. We were just going to make reference to the fact that there was a letter that made some allegations. But they put it out, and they put the names on blast. It wasn't us. They put the names out on blast. The people that leaked it through LAPD put those names out there. So I was always curious to know what Russ was thinking when he decided to go to the sheriff's department. But I know that Russ had been meeting with county prosecutors, LA County prosecutors. He had been meeting with some people because if the LAPD weren't going to do something about it, Russ was just wanting somebody in law enforcement to do something about it. He talked to Jim Peterson is his name. I'm trying to think that the new sheriff now, the guy who's the sheriff now. Russ talked with him. Jim McDonald, that's right. Jim McDonald's the sheriff.
Should I be Mob James for certain things that happened in my life? No. Yeah. I got to stay James McDonald. That's why I ain't mad at old boy. Should I be Mob James for certain things that happened in my life? No. Yeah. I got to stay James McDonald. That's why I ain't mad at oh boy, should I be Mob James for certain things that happened in my life? No. Yeah. I gotta stay James McDonald. That's why I ain't mad at, oh boy. That's why I ain't.
And Russ and Michael arranged with Jim McDonald, the LA County Sheriff, to go there and talk to Jim McDonald about the case, about what the One Oak Club shooting that involved the sheriffs and Suge Knight and this theory that we had. And I was a little baffled by it, to be honest with you, because I couldn't understand. We'd already been screwed by one law enforcement agency. I'm not really sure I would have done it twice. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be the guy to go back and say, hey, you guys should just, maybe you guys will do the right thing. These guys didn't, but maybe you will. Because you just never know about these guys. They have their own agenda. So Russ went, and not only did he not meet with Jim McDonald, but he met with two other detectives, and one of the detectives that he met with, Russell had prior dealings with that hadn't been very good dealings. Let's just put it that way. They didn't really get along. And then Russ drops dead of a heart attack right there at the sheriff's department.
This is a difficult case. The LAPD has always maintained this was a horrible accident, but the family of Officer Houston Tipping doesn't believe it. So it looks like this case will be going to trial.
I'm angry, disgusted, heartbroken, and life is just different without him because of what they did.
Shirley Huffman believes her son, LAPD officer Houston Tipping, was targeted and killed because he knew about rape allegations against fellow officers in the department.
He was concerned enough that he was looking to leave, and he had interviewed, and that was his intention, was to leave.
Attorney Brad Gage says Officer Tipping was an instructor at the police academy.
Officer Tipping was an instructor at the police academy.
Officer Tipping was an instructor at the police academy.
And was conducting a training exercise when he was gravely injured.
After he became the instructor there, one of the accused officers signed up for that class, went into that class, engaged in intentional acts against my client, including putting him into a headlock, which he admits in his deposition testimony that we have, and also picking him up in what is known colloquially as a pile driver wrestling move.
Officer Tipping was paralyzed and after 3 days in the hospital, died on May 29, 2022. But the LAPD calls it a tragic accident. LAPD Chief Michael Moore had this to say back in 2022.
Officer Tipping was not attacked. He was not beaten up by a group of officers, and he was not involved in any investigation of any police officer within the Los Angeles Police Department.
Gage disagrees. He's filed a lawsuit alleging wrongful death, battery, and whistleblower retaliation.
Having an officer who is investigating criminal acts against other employees who then dies and is killed has to be distressing to everyone. It has to concern us for public safety.
My son was a good cop. He loved being a police officer. It was what his fiber was. And I believe that when he saw something, he said something, and it got him killed.
Attorney Gage says he's working to depose Chief Michael Moore. He says the trial is expected to begin in late June.
In late June. In late June. In late June.
I'm Gina Silva, Fox 11 News.